The mail-order bride arrived in tears. The cowboy said, "You don't have to pretend with me." Maya stared out of the small airplane window, her hands trembling slightly as the clouds stretched endlessly beneath her. The hum of the engines and the distant chatter of other passengers did little to calm her racing thoughts. She had never traveled so far alone before. The idea of leaving her past behind had seemed simple when she first decided to become a mail-order bride. But now, sitting with her heart pounding, she wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. She didn't want to cry in front of anyone, yet tears threatened to spill down her cheeks. She quickly brushed them away, afraid that showing weakness might make her seem foolish. The plane touched down on a small airport far away from the bustling city she had left behind. The air felt different, cleaner, cooler, and somehow heavier. It carried the scent of earth and grass instead of smoke and concrete. Maya clutched her small suitcase, feeling its weight as if it carried the burden of her past as well. Her mind wandered back to her old life, to the loneliness she had endured, to the fear she had tried to escape. She had thought she could start over here, with this man she had never met, but doubt and fear gnawed at her from the inside. Outside the airport, a lone figure stood waiting near a dusty road. He was tall and broad-shouldered, dressed simply in a worn shirt and jeans, with boots caked in dried mud. A hat shaded his face from the sun, and he held the reins of a horse calmly by his side. He had the quiet strength of someone who spent his life working with his hands, someone who trusted in hard work more than words. When Maya stepped out, clutching her suitcase, he lifted his head slightly and gave a small nod. "Are you Maya?" he asked, his voice deep but gentle. There was no impatience in his tone, only quiet curiosity. "Yes," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Her throat felt dry, her mind a jumble of thoughts and fears. She had imagined many scenarios for this moment, but this simple greeting, calm and unassuming, was not what she had expected. He stepped closer, offering her a small smile. "I'm Liam. You don't have to pretend with me. I can see you're nervous." The words surprised her. No one had ever said anything like that to her before. She had learned long ago to hide her feelings, to put on a brave face, to keep people at a distance. But something in his voice made her want to believe him. Her tears finally fell freely, small and silent, but heavy with the weight of everything she had left behind. Liam stepped forward, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "It's okay. You're safe here." Maya looked into his eyes, and for the first time in months she felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this could work. Maybe she could find peace here, even if only a small measure of it. She tried to smile, though it trembled and felt fragile. He gestured toward the horse. "We'll take your bag and get you settled at the ranch. The ride isn't far, but it will be bumpy." Maya nodded, grateful for his patience. She followed him, her suitcase rolling unevenly over the rough gravel, her nerves jangling with every step. The horse's steady breathing and soft whinny seemed to ease her tension slightly, reminding her that life here moved at a slower pace, guided by rhythm and patience. As they rode toward the ranch, the landscape unfolded around her like a painting. Endless fields stretched into the horizon, dotted with wildflowers and tall grass swaying gently in the wind. Distant hills rose and fell, casting long shadows in the late afternoon sun. Birds flew overhead, calling to one another in sharp, cheerful cries. Everything was so different from the cramped city streets she had known all her life. It was quiet, almost painfully quiet, but in that quiet there was a strange comfort. Liam drove the horse slowly, allowing Maya to take in the scenery. She clutched the reins nervously, unfamiliar with the gentle sway and the movement beneath her. He noticed her hesitation and offered a few quiet instructions, his voice calm and patient. "Hold it like this. Relax your arms. You'll get used to it." She followed his instructions, and gradually the tension in her body began to ease. She was still anxious, but the rhythm of the horse beneath her and the quiet presence of Liam beside her created a small sense of safety she hadn't felt in years. She realized she was beginning to trust him, not fully, but enough to take a first step toward letting someone in. By the time they reached the ranch, the sun was beginning to dip behind the hills, casting golden light across the fields. The ranch house stood proudly in the distance, simple but solid, with smoke curling gently from the chimney. It felt warm, almost welcoming, a stark contrast to the cold uncertainty she had felt only hours earlier. Liam helped her down from the horse and took her suitcase. "Come inside. I'll show you your room and make sure you're comfortable." Maya nodded, her stomach twisting with nervousness and anticipation. She followed him across the yard, noticing the small details. The worn wooden fence, the garden with vegetables and flowers, the barn with horses peeking out from the stalls. Everything spoke of a life built on hard work and care, a life she had never known but hoped she could adapt to. Inside the house, the air smelled faintly of wood and earth. It was simple and uncluttered, yet everything seemed cared for. Liam led her to a small room with a bed neatly made, a dresser, and a window that looked out over the fields. "This will be your room," he said. "Take some time to rest. Dinner will be ready in an hour." Maya sank onto the bed, her body exhausted from the travel and the emotional strain. She had expected to feel out of place, but there was something about this room, this house, and this man that made her feel, for the first time in a long while, that maybe she could belong somewhere. As she unpacked a few essentials, she thought about the life she had left behind, the fear, the loneliness, the mistakes. She thought about the future, uncertain and unformed, but somehow brighter than she had dared to imagine. She realized that trust, even tentative, could be the first step toward healing. And Liam, with his quiet kindness and understanding, might be the person who could help her take that step. By the time dinner was ready, Maya had washed up and tried to compose herself. She entered the kitchen to find Liam setting the table, simple plates and utensils arranged neatly. He looked up and smiled. "I hope you like simple meals. Nothing fancy, but it's made with care." Maya returned a small smile. "It looks good." They ate in silence at first, each taking time to adjust to the presence of the other. Liam occasionally spoke of small things, the weather, the animals, the work he needed to finish on the ranch. His words were calm and steady, not prying but welcoming. Maya listened, feeling the tension in her chest slowly unwind. She realized she could speak too, even if only a little. "Where are the horses?" she asked finally, her voice quiet. Liam's face softened. "Out in the barn. I can show you tomorrow if you want." "They're gentle creatures, but they can sense fear. I think they'll like you." Maya nodded, a flicker of excitement in her chest. She had never spent much time with animals before, but she had always loved them. The thought of working with them, of being useful and learning, made her feel a little braver. After dinner, they cleaned up together. The small tasks, shared quietly, created a rhythm that felt almost like a conversation. No words were forced, no questions were too heavy. Maya felt herself beginning to relax, to feel part of something real, simple, and honest. Later, as she lay in bed, listening to the quiet sounds of the ranch, the wind through the trees, the distant lowing of a cow, the occasional creak of the house settling, Maya felt a tiny seed of hope grow within her. She didn't know what the future would hold, but she knew one thing. Here, she didn't have to pretend. She didn't have to hide her fear or her tears. And for the first time in a long time, that thought brought a small, genuine smile to her lips. Outside, Liam paused for a moment on the porch, looking at the fields bathed in the fading light. He thought about the young woman who had arrived that afternoon, tears and all. He didn't know her fully yet, and he didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but he sensed something real and fragile in her, something worth protecting. He whispered quietly to himself, "You don't have to pretend with me," knowing that those words might be the first step toward a new life for both of them. The night grew quiet over the ranch, and for the first time, Maya felt a fragile peace. She had come to escape her past, but she had found more than a safe place. She had found someone who might help her believe in herself again, someone who could see her as she truly was, and someone who might just need her as much as she needed him. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the small window of Maya's room, painting the walls with a warm, golden light. She stirred slowly, her body still tired from the long journey, but her mind was already buzzing with thoughts of what the day would bring. She had spent her first night in a real bed in weeks, and for the first time in a long while, sleep had come easily, unburdened by worry. Slowly, she rose and stretched, feeling the stiffness in her muscles from sitting and traveling for so long. She heard movement downstairs, the creak of floorboards and the soft clatter of dishes. She took a deep breath, smoothing her hair and straightening her simple dress she had packed. She wasn't sure what to expect, but she wanted to be ready. She wanted to show Liam that she could do more than just cry and hide. Maybe she could learn to be useful, to belong here. Descending the stairs, she found Liam in the kitchen, already busy with breakfast. He moved quietly, pouring coffee and arranging plates, his movements calm and practiced. His expression was neutral but kind, the kind that didn't demand anything from anyone but simply existed in quiet strength. "Good morning," he said, glancing up with a small smile. "Sleep well?" "Yes," Maya replied softly, her voice still husky from sleep. She couldn't help noticing the way he moved, confident and steady, the way he seemed completely at home in this place. It made her feel both nervous and comforted at the same time. Breakfast was simple, scrambled eggs, bread, and fresh fruit, but it smelled good and filled the small kitchen with warmth. They ate in silence at first, the only sounds the clinking of utensils and the occasional chirping of birds outside. Maya took small bites, unsure how to start a conversation, but Liam didn't push. Instead, he talked casually about small things, the weather, the animals, the work that needed to be done on the ranch today. "Do you want to help with the horses first?" he asked eventually, looking at her with a hint of curiosity. Maya nodded. I think I'd like that." Liam smiled softly. "Good. They're gentle, but they can sense fear. Don't worry, I'll show you everything." They walked together to the barn, the morning sun warm on their backs. Maya's heart beat faster as she saw the horses, large and strong, their coats shining in the sunlight. She had never been close to animals like this, never been trusted to care for them, but something about the sight made her feel hopeful. Liam introduced her to each horse, explaining their personalities and quirks. "This one's gentle, mostly calm, but she can be skittish if you move too fast. Take your time." Maya listened carefully, nodding, her hands brushing the horse's mane as she tried to remember everything he said. She felt the warmth of the animal beneath her hand and was surprised at how comforting it felt. "Good," Liam said quietly, observing her. "Just stay calm and they'll trust you. They can tell if you're nervous or scared." Maya concentrated on her breathing, trying to steady herself. Slowly, the horses began to relax under her touch, and a small smile crept onto her face. She felt proud of herself for the first time in months, proud that she could learn something new and do it well. As they worked, Liam occasionally offered advice, never harsh, always patient. He noticed her cautious movements, her small victories, and encouraged her with quiet words. "You're doing fine, that's it. Good job." After the morning with the horses, they moved on to the fields. Liam showed her how to tend to the garden, water the plants, and check the small patches of crops. Maya was clumsy at first, her hands fumbling with the tools, but Liam didn't laugh or criticize. He showed her again slowly, step by step, and she gradually improved. By the end of the morning, her arms ached, and her fingers were scratched and dirty, but she felt a sense of accomplishment she hadn't felt in a long time. During lunch, they sat under the shade of an old tree, the sunlight filtering through the leaves. Liam brought out a simple meal and Maya ate hungrily, feeling her energy return. They talked quietly, Liam sharing small stories of the ranch, his childhood, and the work his father had done before him. He spoke with a quiet pride, not boasting, just sharing a part of himself, and Maya listened, feeling closer to him with every word. "I never knew life could be like this," Maya said softly, glancing at the wide-open fields and the rolling hills. "So quiet, so peaceful." Liam nodded. "It has its challenges, but it's honest. Things are what they seem. There's no pretending here, no rushing. You work hard and you see results. That's life on the ranch." Maya thought about her past life, the chaos, the fear, the constant pressure to fit in and perform. She realized she had never experienced this kind of honesty, this simple rhythm of life. She wanted it. She wanted to belong here. In the afternoon, Liam taught her how to repair a fence. She was hesitant at first, unsure how to use the tools properly, but Liam stayed beside her, showing her patiently. "It's okay to make mistakes," he said. "You'll learn, that's how it works." Maya tried again, swinging the hammer with more confidence, her hands still awkward but determined. She felt a small spark of pride when she managed to secure the board correctly. Liam smiled at her, and for the first time she felt a real sense of accomplishment. She wasn't just a visitor here, she was becoming part of this place. Later they returned to the house, tired but satisfied. Maya washed up, feeling the dirt and sweat of the day remind her that she had worked hard, that she had learned something new, and that she was capable of more than she had believed. Dinner was another simple meal, but this time Maya felt more at ease. She helped set the table, moved with purpose, and even laughed softly when Liam told a funny story about a stubborn cow that had gotten loose last month. For the first time she felt that maybe she could be herself here, not the scared, broken girl she had been, but someone who could grow, learn, and belong. After dinner, they sat outside on the porch, the night sky stretching endlessly above them. Stars twinkled in the clear sky, and the cool air carried the scent of grass and earth. Maya leaned back in her chair, listening to the quiet sounds of the ranch, the soft rustling of the trees, the distant calls of animals settling for the night. "You've worked hard today," Liam said quietly, sitting beside her. "I can see you're trying, and that means a lot." Maya felt warmth in her chest. No one had ever said that to her before, not so simply, not so sincerely. She looked at him, the soft light of the porch illuminating his face, and for the first time she felt she could trust him. I want to do my best," she said softly. "I want to belong here to help." Liam nodded. "You will, just take it one day at a time." That's all anyone can do. They sat together in silence for a while, watching the stars and listening to the quiet night. Maya thought about how different this life was from the one she had left behind. Here, she didn't have to pretend. She didn't have to hide her fear or her tears. She could simply be herself, and for the first time that felt safe. The next few days passed in a rhythm that was both new and comforting. Maya woke early, worked alongside Liam in the fields and the barn, learned the routines of the ranch, and slowly began to feel a part of something larger than herself. She learned to ride the horses with confidence, to repair fences without fear, and to care for the small garden that fed them. She discovered strength she hadn't known she possessed, and with each small success, her confidence grew. Liam, in turn, watched her quietly, noticing her determination, her small victories, and her growing comfort in this new life. He admired her courage, the way she faced her fears and worked hard despite her inexperience. He didn't push her or rush her, but he offered guidance, encouragement, and understanding. Slowly, a bond formed between them, a bond built on respect, patience, and quiet care. One afternoon, while they were feeding the animals together, Maya finally spoke about her past in small, careful pieces. She didn't tell everything, not yet, but she shared enough to let Liam understand that she had come from a life of fear and loneliness. He listened without judgment, his calm presence reassuring her that she could be honest without fear of rejection. "You don't have to pretend with me," he said softly, repeating the words he had spoken on her arrival. "I know who you are, and that's enough." Maya felt tears prick her eyes again, but this time they were different, tears of relief, of gratitude, of hope. For the first time, she felt that she could belong somewhere, that she could trust someone, and that maybe, just maybe, she could find happiness. As the sun set over the fields, casting long shadows across the land, Maya and Liam stood side by side, watching the sky turn gold and pink. The work of the day was done, the animals fed and resting, and the ranch quiet once more. For Maya, the days of fear and loneliness seemed to be fading, replaced by a new rhythm, a new hope, and a new sense of belonging. And as she went to bed that night, exhausted but content, she realized that for the first time in her life, she didn't have to pretend. She could be herself, and that was enough. The morning air was crisp and fresh as Maya stepped outside. The sun had just begun to rise, painting the fields with soft gold and orange. She felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness today. The ranch had become familiar to her, the rhythm of work and life settling into her bones. Yet, deep down, a worry still lingered. How much of herself could she truly show Liam? She had shared small pieces of her past, but there were still parts too painful to speak aloud, secrets she feared might push him away. Liam was already in the barn when she arrived, his hands busy with feeding the horses. He looked up when he heard her footsteps and smiled gently. "Good morning," he said. "You're early today." I couldn't sleep," Maya admitted softly. She tried to keep her voice steady, but a tremor betrayed her nervousness. He nodded, understanding in his eyes. "That's all right. You'll find your rhythm soon enough. Come on, let's start with the horses." Maya followed him, brushing her fingers over the smooth manes of the animals. The horses welcomed her touch, nuzzling her gently, sensing the gentleness she carried. It was a comforting start to the day, the simple work grounding her, reminding her that this place, this life, was real and tangible. After the morning chores, they moved to repair a section of fence that had been damaged in a recent storm. Maya watched Liam carefully as he measured, sawed, and hammered with precision. She tried to imitate his movements, clumsy at first, her hands trembling slightly. Liam noticed and came closer, guiding her hands with patience. "You're doing well," he said softly. "Just remember to take it slow and steady." Maya felt a small surge of pride. These were skills she had never imagined learning, yet here she was, doing them, feeling capable for the first time in a long while. As the afternoon sun climbed higher, Maya began to relax, laughing softly when she stumbled or when a horse nudged her unexpectedly. Liam chuckled too, but never mocked her. Instead, he encouraged her, celebrating her small victories. It was strange and wonderful to feel someone truly believe in her, to see her potential before she could even see it herself. But that evening, as the sky turned pale and the wind whispered through the fields, Maya felt the old fear creeping back in. She sat alone on the porch, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched a mug of warm tea. The ranch was peaceful, almost too peaceful, and it made her thoughts loud and persistent. She worried that Liam would one day learn the full truth about her past, the abuse, the mistakes, the moments she wished she could erase. What if he didn't accept her? What if she lost the only person who had shown her kindness in months? Liam noticed her absence from the kitchen and came out to find her on the porch. "You okay?" he asked, his voice gentle, without pressure. Maya hesitated, biting her lip. She wanted to speak, but the words felt heavy, stuck in her throat. Finally, she took a deep breath. I need to tell you something," she said softly. Liam sat down beside her, his eyes calm and patient. "You can tell me anything," he said. "I'm listening." Tears welled up in Maya's eyes as she began to speak, slowly at first, then more freely as the words tumbled out. She told him about her past life in the city, the loneliness, the fear, the mistakes she had made, and the people who had hurt her. She spoke of the nights she cried herself to sleep, the moments she had felt completely helpless, and the day she decided to leave everything behind. Liam listened quietly, never interrupting, never judging. His hand found hers, holding it gently, letting her know she was not alone. "You don't have to pretend with me," he said softly, repeating the words he had spoken when she first arrived. "I see you, all of you, and that's enough." Maya let out a shuddering breath, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. For the first time, she felt truly seen, truly understood. The fear that had gripped her for so long began to fade, replaced by a fragile hope. They sat together in silence for a while, watching the stars begin to appear in the clear night sky. The air was cool, carrying the scent of earth and grass. Maya rested her head on her hands, feeling the warmth of Liam's hand still holding hers. She realized that she could trust him, that she could let someone in without fear. In the days that followed, Maya grew more confident. She continued to work alongside Liam on the ranch, learning new skills each day. She learned to ride the horses with ease, to repair fences, and to care for the small garden that fed them. Each task she completed brought a sense of accomplishment, a proof that she was capable, that she could belong. Liam, in turn, grew more comfortable with her presence. He appreciated her efforts, her willingness to learn, and her quiet determination. He began to share more about himself, the stories of his childhood on the ranch, the lessons his father had taught him, and the pride he felt in carrying on the family work. He showed her the secret spots where wildflowers grew, the small stream where the water was always cool and clear, and the hilltop that offered the most beautiful view of the sunset. One afternoon, while they were repairing a gate together, Maya spoke more openly about her fears. "Sometimes I worry," she said quietly, "that my past will always be a part of me, that I can't escape it." Liam looked at her, his expression gentle but firm. "Your past doesn't define you," he said. "You can't change what happened, but you can choose how you live now. And right now, you're choosing to be here, to work hard, and to be honest. That matters more than anything else." Maya felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words. They weren't just words of comfort, they were words of truth. For the first time, she felt capable of believing in herself, of seeing a future that wasn't shadowed by fear and regret. Their bond grew stronger as they shared these quiet moments, their trust in each other deepening. Maya realized that she no longer felt the constant weight of loneliness. She had someone who cared for her, who saw her worth, and who was willing to accept her flaws and fears without judgment. One evening, as a soft rain began to fall, they worked together to secure the barn doors and make sure the animals were safe. The sound of raindrops on the roof was soothing, and Maya felt a strange sense of peace. She glanced at Liam, who was moving with quiet efficiency, his face calm despite the weather. She felt a surge of gratitude and something more, a budding affection that she hadn't expected to feel so soon. "You've adapted quickly," Liam said, noticing her watching him. "I'm impressed," Maya smiled shyly. "I've had a good teacher," she replied. He chuckled softly, a sound that made her heart feel lighter. "We make a good team," he said. Maya nodded, feeling the truth of his words. They did work well together, their strengths complementing each other. And more importantly, they trusted each other. That trust was something she had never experienced before, and it was a gift she was beginning to cherish. As the rain continued to fall, they finished their tasks and retreated to the porch, wrapped in blankets and watching the storm pass. Maya felt a sense of contentment she had never known. The storm outside mirrored the storm she had carried inside her, but here, in this quiet place with Liam, she felt safe and protected. That night, as Maya lay in bed, she thought about the journey she had taken, from fear and uncertainty to a place of trust and hope. She realized that her past, while painful, had led her to this moment. And in this moment, she felt the possibility of a future she could believe in, a future where she could be herself without fear. Liam, on his part, sat on the porch for a while, looking at the stars and thinking about Maya. He had seen her strength, her courage, and her vulnerability. He knew there were still challenges ahead, but he also knew that they were building something real together. Something worth protecting. Days turned into weeks, and Maya's confidence grew. She learned to navigate the ranch with ease, to anticipate the needs of the animals, and to handle the small challenges that came with daily life. She and Liam continued to share quiet conversations, laughter, and moments of understanding that deepened their connection. One afternoon, as they were walking along a path through the fields, Maya stopped and looked at Liam. I'm glad I came here," she said softly. Liam smiled, his eyes warm. "So am I," he replied. "You don't have to pretend with me, Maya. I'm glad you came, tears and all." Maya felt tears prick her eyes, but this time they were tears of happiness. She realized that she had found more than a safe place. She had found someone who saw her for who she truly was and accepted her. As the sun set behind the hills, casting long shadows across the fields, Maya felt a deep sense of peace. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, she believed that she could face the future with courage and hope. She had found trust, friendship, and the beginnings of love, all in the quiet, steady rhythm of life on the ranch with Liam. And as night fell, she closed her eyes with a small, genuine smile, knowing that she no longer had to pretend, that she was seen, and that she was not alone. Spring had arrived at the ranch, bringing with it a sense of renewal and life. The fields were green, the flowers bloomed in splashes of color, and the air was warm with sunlight. Maya stood near the barn, brushing down one of the horses with gentle, careful movements. Her confidence had grown with every day she spent here, and she could feel the rhythm of ranch life becoming part of her. Tasks that once seemed impossible now felt natural, and she carried herself with a quiet strength she had never known before. Liam was nearby, repairing a section of fence that had weakened over the winter. He glanced up when he heard Maya's laughter as one of the horses nudged her playfully. The sight of her, confident and smiling, made something inside him relax. He had seen her grow from the timid, tearful girl who had arrived weeks ago into someone capable, strong, and genuine. She no longer needed to hide. "You've come a long way," Liam said, setting down his tools and wiping his hands on a rag. Maya looked at him, a small smile tugging at her lips. "I've had a good teacher," she replied, echoing the words she had said weeks before. But this time they felt true, not just polite but real. They spent the morning working side by side, completing chores efficiently, sometimes sharing quiet conversation, sometimes simply enjoying the peaceful rhythm of the ranch. There was no rush, no pressure, only the steady, comforting pace of life that Liam had always known and that Maya had slowly learned to embrace. After lunch, Liam suggested they take a break and walk toward the hilltop at the far edge of the property. The path was familiar to him, a place he often went to think, and he wanted to share it with Maya. She followed him eagerly, the sunlight warm on her back, the wind carrying the scent of grass and flowers. The hilltop offered a breathtaking view. The entire ranch stretched below them, fields and fences bathed in sunlight, the distant hills forming a soft, green horizon. "It's beautiful," Maya said quietly, taking in the view. Liam smiled, looking at her with quiet affection. "It's my favorite spot. I come here when I need to think or just feel at peace." Maya felt a sense of calm settle over her as she stood beside him. She realized that this place had become more than just a refuge. It had become a home. And Liam had become more than just a guide or companion. He had become someone she could trust, someone who saw her as she truly was and accepted her without question. Over the next few days, Maya continued to thrive. She worked confidently in the barn, cared for the animals with patience and skill, and even began to experiment with planting new vegetables in the garden. Liam watched her quietly, always offering guidance when needed, but mostly allowing her to discover her own abilities. He admired her resilience, her willingness to learn, and the way she approached life with sincerity. One afternoon, while checking the fences along the far field, a small challenge presented itself. A fence post had rotted and fallen, leaving a gap that could allow the livestock to wander. Liam looked at Maya and said, "We'll need to fix this quickly. Can you help me?" Maya nodded, her hands steady and confident now. Together they lifted the post, measured, and secured it back into place. It was hard work, but they moved in harmony, each anticipating the other's actions. When the task was complete, they stood back and admired their work, feeling the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. "That was perfect," Liam said, smiling at her. "You're learning fast." Maya felt a warmth in her chest. Praise had always felt foreign to her, but here it felt genuine and earned. She had not only adapted to life on the ranch, but she had also grown stronger, more confident, and more capable. As the days turned into weeks, Maya and Liam's bond deepened. They shared small moments of laughter, quiet conversations, and mutual respect. Maya learned to trust him completely, revealing more of her thoughts and feelings with each passing day. Liam, in turn, allowed himself to feel more openly, his affection for Maya growing alongside his admiration for her strength and determination. One evening, as the sun began to set, Liam suggested they sit outside and watch the sky. They wrapped themselves in blankets, sitting close together on the porch. The air was cool, carrying the scent of the blooming flowers, and the sky turned shades of pink, orange, and gold. "I never thought I'd feel this calm," Maya said softly, leaning against him slightly. "Back in the city, everything was chaos. I never felt safe, never felt free." Liam looked at her, his expression gentle. "You're safe now," he said, "and you don't have to pretend." "Not with me. You can be exactly who you are." Maya smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude and something deeper, hope. For the first time, she felt that she could truly belong somewhere, that she could be herself without fear. She realized that this quiet life, though different from anything she had known, was exactly what she needed to heal and grow. Days passed, each one filled with the steady rhythm of ranch life and shared moments of trust and companionship. Maya discovered her own strength in ways she had never imagined, and Liam admired her courage, her honesty, and the quiet determination that shone through even in small tasks. Together they faced the small challenges of the ranch, repairing fences, caring for animals, tending the garden, and each success strengthened their bond. One afternoon, while collecting eggs from the chicken coop, Maya paused and looked at Liam. "I think I'm happy here," she said softly. Liam's eyes softened and he smiled. "I'm glad," he said. "You've earned every bit of it." It wasn't just the work that had changed her, it was the sense of belonging, the feeling of being seen and accepted for who she truly was. The tears she had cried upon arrival were now memories, reminders of a past she had survived but no longer needed to carry with her. The seasons continued to change, bringing new life to the ranch. Spring gave way to summer, and the fields were lush and green, the animals healthy and content. Maya and Liam continued to work together, their relationship growing stronger with each passing day. They shared quiet moments of laughter, long walks across the fields, and evenings spent watching the stars. Each day, their trust and affection deepened, forming a foundation that neither had expected but both had hoped for. One evening, after a long day of work, Liam brought out a small picnic near the stream at the edge of the ranch. The water was cool and clear, reflecting the last light of the setting sun. They sat together on a blanket, enjoying simple food and the peaceful sounds of nature around them. "I never imagined life could be like this," Maya said softly, watching the water ripple over the stones. "It's quiet, yes, but it feels honest, and safe, and happy." Liam looked at her, his eyes warm. "That's what I hoped you'd find here. You've worked hard, Maya, but you've also allowed yourself to trust, to be yourself. That's more important than anything else." Maya felt a tear slip down her cheek, but it was a tear of joy, not fear. She had come to this place carrying pain and uncertainty, but she was leaving the past behind, piece by piece, replaced by trust, acceptance, and love. As the sky turned dark and stars began to appear, they sat together in silence, letting the peace of the moment wash over them. The ranch, the animals, the fields, they were all part of a life that felt real, solid, and full of possibility. And at the center of it all was their connection, built on trust, patience, and mutual care. Weeks later, Maya stood in the garden, her hands full of freshly harvested vegetables. Liam was nearby, repairing a fence, and he glanced up, smiling at her. "You've grown so much," he said quietly. "I'm proud of you." Maya smiled back, feeling a warmth in her chest. "I've had a good teacher," she replied, echoing the words she had said months ago. But now the words carried a new meaning. They weren't just about learning work. They were about learning to trust, to heal, and to believe in herself. That evening, as they watched the sun set over the hills, Maya realized that she no longer carried the fear and doubt that had haunted her for so long. She had found a home, a life, and someone who saw her for who she truly was. Liam's presence had become a source of strength and comfort, and she knew that together they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. As night fell, she went to bed with a sense of peace and hope she had never known. The journey had been long and difficult, but it had led her here, to a place of trust, belonging, and love. For the first time in her life, she didn't have to pretend, and that knowledge filled her heart with quiet happiness. And Liam, sitting outside on the porch for a moment longer, looked at the stars and thought about the young woman who had arrived in tears months ago. He had watched her grow, heal, and find strength. He had seen her trust and affection develop, and he felt a deep sense of connection and care. They had both found something rare and precious, someone who could understand, support, and see them fully. Together they faced the future with courage and hope, their bond stronger than ever. The ranch, the animals, the fields, and the quiet rhythms of life had shaped them, healed them, and brought them together. And as Maya drifted to sleep, she knew that for the first time she was truly home, seen, accepted, and loved for exactly who she was.